What happens when you give trick-or-treaters candy that causes them to turn evil when eaten? This concept was explored at Halloween Horror Nights 31 in a scare zone that is going to be expanded on this year as a full-fledged haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights 33 called Major Sweets Candy Factory. This is a quick retrospective of the 2022 Scare Zone Sweet Revenge. On August 25th, 2022, Universal Orlando would announce on Halloween Horror Nights social accounts the Sweet Revenge Scare Zone along with the rest of the 5 scare zones featured in 2022. On Twitter, a short blurb was released which shared that the zone would be based in the 1950s where a candy company called Major Sweets has taken over trick-or-treaters with their candy that turns them evil. Sweet Revenge was held in the best scare zone location of all time, New York. In the lore, the scare zone is based on a small northeastern New York town called Hollow Hills, making the New York section scare zone area the best fit compared to the other Halloween Horror Nights scare zone locations. The scare zone was set in the town's first ever Halloween festival and featured many Halloween fair props that we will go over during the scare zone walkthrough section of this video. The town's Halloween festival received funding from the owner of the Major Sweets Candy Company who went by Major Sweets. In this scare zone, he's the antagonist along with Miss Sweets. The two of them roam around the scare zone. They are accompanied by a plethora of Hollow Hills trick-or-treaters. This zone has 26 trick-or-treaters in total. All of their names are listed on the screen now, but I think my favorite is the paper bag head trick-or-treater. Just look at the smile. This zone also featured 16 non-trick-or-treater residents of Hollow Hills, which are listed on the screen now. Before we go through the walkthrough, please note that this is a scare zone, meaning that not every character previously listed will be featured and everyone's walkthrough is different, as you can walk through in multiple directions. Technically speaking, there were 4 entrances into Sweet's Revenge if you include the back alleyways. We are going to start on the side closest to Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon and the Halloween Horror Nights tribute store. Guests entered the zone in between 2 jack-o'-lantern stacks. Immediately following this is the Sweet's Revenge truck, which held many bloody weapons, diagrams of the human body, bulk boxes of Major Sweets branded candy, and baskets filled with the same candy. The judge booth sits next to the truck, which I'm assuming it was for a costume contest, and if you know what it was actually used for, let me know. Next to the booth was a carnival style balloon pop game, but the balloons had human heads in them. Pretty freaky stuff. There's a shelf filled with candy, but what's more eye-catching is the tracker that is crashed into the fair tent. On the streets, the trick-or-treaters and other town folks of Hollow Hills roam around, along with Major Sweets and Mrs. Sweets of course. Next to the entrance of the tribute store is the 3rd jack-o'-lantern stack. After passing the tractor crash and the tribute store, the first parade float is seen, which is used for the festival's parade. The float was themed to a cemetery and did sometimes have scare actors on the float. In between the first float and the second float was a fall photo op, but the town folks who are taking pictures there, heads are ripped off. There are also 2 more jack-o'-lantern stacks, bringing the total up to 5. The second float had 4 witches on it. First one is flying on a broom, while the 3 in the back are fixing a potion. Outside of the float, on both sides, there are jack-o'-lantern stacks, making our total 7 so far. In between the second and final parade float, there was a snow cone machine stand that had human skin inside of it. Fake, of course, YouTube. The last float is themed to the Major Sweets Candy Factory, which I assume we will all be able to walk through soon in the Major Sweets Candy Factory Haunted House this year at Halloween Horror Nights. Outside the final float, 3 jack-o'-lantern stacks surround it, giving us a grand total of 10 jack-o'-lantern stacks throughout the scare zone. Flame me in the comments if I miscounted, but that's the entire walkthrough of the Sweet's Revenge scare zone. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to subscribe to not miss the next Halloween Horror Nights retrospective, which will be about the 2015 Insidious Haunted House at the Orlando event. If you see a video on your screen now, definitely click it because it's the next best video for you according to YouTube. Thanks for watching.